Morphternoon folks, Mark here, and welcome to the sofa. I've had a strange idea involving 19th century prints. Not that kind. It starts with this. So why not join me at the painting table, and I'll try and explain. This is the Great Wave off Kanagawa, a woodblock print from the 1830s by Katsushika Hokusai. Might be the best known of his 36 views of Mount Fuji, and one of my favourite images. This one is Kajikazawa in Kai province, number 45 of the 36 views. He made 10 more because the first set was so popular. Another favourite of mine. And I was going to try and blend it from 2D to 3D. There's a definite background, Mount Fuji, and a distinct foreground, the fisherman. The river in the middle, I decided to wing it. Which is where this came in. Not only was I going to blend from 2D to 3D, but also from block print to painted miniature. Not woodblock, I'll admit, but I figured linocut printing was probably hard enough already. Transferring the image wasn't hard. Tracing in pencil, drawing over that in Sharpie so it didn't rub off, and staining the lino surface with ink. Looked vaguely like what I'd seen on YouTube. Which made it time to cut, I guess. I'd had very little practice at this, and mostly learned to protect my right hand better. Hence the glove. Tried various cutting heads to see what worked, and quickly got something that looked okay. And just as quickly cut the wrong bit out. Oops. Version 2 then. Messed this one up even quicker. Learning! I finished the lines anyway. Needed all the practice I could get. A little test inking as a treat? Why not? They're not terrible, but those lines are really uneven. So that was my next challenge. This time, a guide mark on the beginner cutter would help me even things out. Sort of. Also tried shaving the thicker bits down, and using a fat old Sharpie to help me see the cut edge. Doesn't matter if I'm perfectly on the line, but it does need to be smooth and even. Round 4? We're getting there. Rather than starting again, I could just... yeah, instant progress. This is where things get a little abstract. All I've made so far is basically a test backdrop. Rather than keep slicing lino, I took a break to build the foreground shore. The wire is to anchor the fisherman, so I don't, knock him off every 5 minutes. This would put him too far back, though, so I squished it, just a little. After getting this far, I realised it was far too low to sit above sculpted water. And like the considered, focused person I am, went back to lino instead. I have to line up the clouds with the mountains somehow. Printing onto the reference lets me match up to the actual cut lines. And then it's tracing time again. Before I spent too much time on it, it seemed smart to see if it was at least close. This high-tech bit of wood with masking tape would keep everything aligned. While I put the glove back on, here's the rundown. This end sags a bit, these lines run over the mountain, and I need to end these bits earlier too. Not bad though for a first try. Some tidying up, and the second test was closer still. The next thing I decided to do was combine the blue mountain and pink waves. No different to the paper version really, just cut. The gradients were gonna be a little trickier, given there's 3 of them divided only by the black lines. Slightly more detailed test, each one in a different colour. A little garish, but at least I can sort of see where to split them? Maybe? Wasn't sure. Instead, I set up a print, painted ink onto the paper, and stamped it in reverse. Just making this up as I go now. Okay, cut down the white lines and hope. You got this, past me. Genuinely, you did okay. I know, I'm watching this back from the future. Still not exactly getting smooth, refined lines and gradients, though. Which I guess is fair, given the real thing is 5 times bigger and done by a master. But maybe I could use chemistry to get there. Thinning the ink down a little worked okay, as long as I didn't use too much pressure. Flow Improver was a little sticky, but also pretty good for coverage. How do I gradient though? Traditionally, I think you'd roll the gradient, but that's very tight Otherwise, you brush it on, which takes a bit of practice and technique, apparently. A bone-dry brush, stippling and sweeping towards the dark area gives us something. Combining everything I've learned across a pile of lino and paper, we get this, which we can stick into place here. This is a weird ending point for me. I've half done various bits and spent a bunch of time messing with lino. But you know what? It was fun, and I recommend trying it. All I have to do now is make the bank, a tiny fisherman and his tiny son, and decide what to do with the waves. I'll probably end up refining this print too, especially when I get proper paper for it. What do you think? Have I got a future as a master printer? Let me know, and maybe I'll see you next time.